Today we're going to take a look at how to use a graphing calculator in order to enter the numbers to form a scatter plot, and then also to calculate the value of the line of best fit. Alright, so we're going to start with our TI-83 Plus graphing calculator. Notice that this is the data that we did by hand the other day. And there are some very specific places in your calculator that will handle the input of this type of data. It is in the statistics section, stat. Okay, your stat button is going to be very important to be able to enter this data. So the first thing you need to do is you need to push the stat button, and notice that there are three things across the top. There's edit and calc and tests. The first thing that we need to do in order to enter this data set is to select the edit. So we'll hit enter while we're on edit, and you'll notice that you'll have a group of lists here up at the top. There may be some numbers already in your list 1 and list 2, and those are the ones we care about. So what we need to do is we need to clear out any data that's already there. So you go to the top, you push the clear button. Do not push the delete button. Push the clear button and hit enter, and you'll notice there's now no numbers in that particular list. In list 2 we want to do the same thing. Push clear and enter, and now we have list 1 is clear and list 2 is clear. List 1 will be for your X values, and list 2 will be for your Y values. So in order to fill up list 1, you use your left arrow, and then you begin to enter all of the X values into the calculator. Every time you enter a value, you can use your down arrow key in order to enter the next value. So make sure you don't miss any, because if you miss any and you have an X that doesn't go with a Y, your calculator is going to give you an error. So we begin, we enter 4, and then we enter 7, 8, 1, 6, 3, 5, 2, 9, 6, 7, and 10. So there's all your X values. Now notice that we're on value 13 now. That means we entered 12 values. Let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright, we got the right number of values in there. We then want to go over to our list 2, and we want to enter those values in. 33, 45, 49, 20, 40, 30. Oops. Notice I made a mistake there, so we can go back and we can edit that. 40, 30. And you can check every so often just to make sure you've got the right ones paired up. 3 goes with 30. 5 goes with 38, 22, 52, 44, 42, and 55. And make sure you hit enter or down arrow to make sure you have all those values. Alright, now that you have the values entered, I have to show you how to make the calculator show that to you. Now the first thing you need to do is make sure that you don't have any leftover equations in the y equals section. If you do that and your statistical values don't match the graph well enough, your calculator will give you an error, and you'll also have a line on there that you don't want. So you need to go into y equals and clear out any equations that might be there by pushing the clear button. Then we need to go into our stat plots. Remember our stat plots before we turned them all off? Well, now we need to go into second y equals, and you need to turn on that stat plot. You do that by hitting enter and enter again for the on. You can choose whatever mark you want. You can choose O's, pluses, or dots. You want to make sure your X list has L1 and your Y list has L2. If it doesn't, if you notice the second value for 1 and 2 has L1 and L2, and you just have to go in and hit second and L1 just to make sure that it's in there if it wasn't already. Alright, once you have those things chosen, we're going to use our zoom function again to go ahead and graph it, but this time we're not going to hit zoom 6. We're going to push zoom, and if you go down in the choices, you find that 9 says zoom stat. Now zoom stat's going to make the window just right to show the data points that you have. So you'll hit enter, and there's all the data points that we saw yesterday when we did this graph by hand. Now after you have this, the next thing that we did was that we calculated that line of fit. So we need to find a way to calculate the line of fit. This is where our stat button comes in again. So you push the stat button, and in this case we're going to calculate the line of fit. So you go over to calc, and the linear equation is under linear regression equation. Notice it says ax plus b. That's suspiciously like mx plus b. In your calculator they don't call it m, they call it a. So we're going to go down to option 4, hit enter, and hit enter one more time, and it takes your data and it calculates an m and it calculates a b. Notice yesterday we got a 4. This is very close to 4, 3.96. But this is actually a more accurate value for our linear regression equation, or our line of fit. So what you want to do, we're going to just round to the hundredths place. So we're going to make this is y equals 3.96x plus 16.70. Okay, notice we rounded to the hundredths place on both of these. This 0 wouldn't necessarily be necessary in math, but I put it in just to show that we meant to round to that place value. Now we need to make that show up on your graph. So what we need to do is you go into the y equals, and you want to enter that 3.96x plus 16.70, and then once again you want to hit zoom 9, which is the zoom stat, and it's going to show up with your line of fit on your graph. So y equals, you can either use your down arrow to get to 9 or just push the number 9. And notice, look what happens. It's drawing the very perfect line of fit. Our line of fit was approximate that we drew yesterday by hand, but this is the perfect line of fit that's right here in your graph. And now you have this equation that you could use just like we used it yesterday to calculate an unknown number. So there you have it. That's how you use the TI-83 Plus to enter some real-life data, to calculate the line of fit, and then to show it on your graph.